Today I'm gonna test these two lenses. Mitakon Speedmaster T1.0 for Micro Four Third lenses review coming up. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start talking about the Mitakon Speedmaster Cinema lenses, a disclaimer, these lenses were sent to me by ZY Optics, the manufacturer of Mitakon lenses, and I've had them for a few weeks for testing. I will send the lenses back after I've finished this video. The video is not previewed by Mitakon, and they did not tell me what to say on this video, so all the things that I say are my own opinions. But let's start. What I have here is the Mitakon Speedmaster 25mm T1.0 Cinema lens and also the 35mm T1.0 Cinema lens. I will explain what T and F values differ later in this video. And as I said, both of these lenses are cinema lenses, and that's why they look a bit different than the traditional lenses for photography. Cinema lenses differ from normal photographic lenses in a few ways. First of all, the aperture ring is clickless, and this is very important in cinema lenses because you can change the aperture without having steps in your exposure. It will be a smooth transition from either from light to dark or dark to light, and that's really important to have in cinema lenses. But of course, these clickless apertures aren't the best when we're talking about photography. It's better to have the clicking sound, or you can actually feel if you have the old-fashioned aperture ring on the lens. You need to feel that it's actually changing the aperture. But in cinema lenses, the smooth transition is a lot better. The biggest difference, as you can see, is the values, or all the aperture values and the distance scales are on the side of the lens. The reason for that is that so that the focus puller, who is usually sitting on the side of the camera, can make the focus correctly. So it's not the cinematographer who is making the focusing in most cases. You have a focus puller who will use the follow focus to make the focus. And on cinema lenses, they usually have these markings on both sides, like they have on both of these Mitakon cinema lenses. I usually do my focusing myself, so if there's an error, it's my fault. I very seldom have a focus puller. But what I use is the PD Movie Bluetooth connected follow focus that I can either use the app on my phone or this knob in the back of the camera, or the back of the rig actually. This rig is something that I use in bigger productions, like a bigger corporate videos. This is not the rig that I use for YouTube videos or small videos where I use the camera handheld. This setup is for bigger productions. Also, the size of these lenses are identical. They both have 77mm filter thread, and they are exactly the same size. The reason for that is that, as you saw the rig, you usually have a so-called Matti box, which is a lens hood for filming. It's a bit better, and you have more control how to block the light from the front element of the lens. And when you have exactly the same size lenses, you just take out the lens and put a new one back there. All the measurements are the same, and that's also why the T value is very important, but we come into that later. And the Matti box is also a very good filter holder. You can slide in some bigger filters from here. And both of these lenses have kind of like a permanent lens hood because the front element is quite deep inside the lens. And that's also a very good thing. You have the front element of the lens in total darkness, which is really good. Well, that's not the way to say it, but you don't have any direct light hitting the front element. Of course, it can be in the total darkness. That was a pretty silly way of saying it, but you know what I mean. It's in the shadow. Mitakon announced today 4 T1.0 cinema lenses for Micro Four Thirds. The lenses were 17mm and then 25 and this 35, and then there is also the additional lens 50mm. Matti Sulanto, a fellow YouTuber and a friend and a photographer, has the 17mm and 25. So I will have him on this video to say a few words about the 17mm lens, because I don't have that. I have the 25 and the 35. And of course I will say a few words about the 35mm on his video And I will link the video in the description down below what Matti has made of these same lenses. Before I show some footage that I shot in Helsinki this week, let's look at some specs of this lens first. As you saw, the footage looked nice and smooth, and I'm not talking about the quality. The content itself and the storytelling in that might not be the greatest movie in the world, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. The look and feel of these lenses are really professional. Lens is made out of metal, of course. Also, the packaging is beautiful. It gives a nice expression when you see these beautiful boxes. Mitakon said that this boxing is not finalized yet, so this is kind of like a pre-production. But if it's get any better, it's going to be a stunning package. But I think it looks totally fine like this to me. Maybe it's some more information about the lens or something, I don't know, but the packaging looks totally awesome. And then the quick explanation about the T-value before we hear Matti Sulanto on this video about the 17mm T1.0 lens. The short and fast answer is that T-value measures the light that transmits through the lens, and f-stop number tells us how much light is hitting the front element. And the reason why it's really important to have T-value lenses for cinema is that when you're doing video, the exposure is really crucial. You cannot have a different exposure on different let's say that you have two cameras and they both need to have exactly the same exposure, and changing the exposure in post is not as smooth as it is with photos. And when you're looking at photos, it doesn't matter if the exposure for the next one is a bit different. But in cinema, it's really crucial. And when you have the T-value and you have, let's say you have the 25mm on another camera and a 35mm Mitakon lens on another, you know that you have the same exposure value. The amount of light that hits the sensor is exactly the same. Because if it was F number, different lenses might have a different T number. So if you have an f2.8 lens, it actually might be a T3.0 lens, and the other one could be T3.5. And there will be a bit of a different exposure, and that's no good if we're talking about cinema. And let's hear what Matti has to say about the 17mm Speedmaster T1.0 lens that he has. How are you doing, Matti?
Thanks for asking, Peter. All good over here, and it's always a pleasure to visit your channel. The Mitakon 17mm T1 lens that I have mounted on my G9 here is externally identical to the other two lenses. And also optically, it's in line with the other two lenses, but because this is a wide-angle lens, this would be suitable for wider shots and establishing shots and that kind of stuff. And I think the three lenses together would be a great starter kit for any budget-conscious filmmaker.
Well, thank you. It was great to hear about the 17mm lens, but we will continue with the 25 and the 35mm lens here. This channel is not about cinema lenses or cinematography in general, but the reason I wanted to test these lenses is that I was very impressed with the Mitakon F095 lens, and you can watch it from there if you're more interested in that. To be honest, I'm in a market for cinema lenses for my video work, and when they contacted me, I said yes, because I wanted to test how good these are, because usually Mitakon lenses are really good value for money. At least they have been in the past. And I was looking also assuming that so are these lenses. And I will talk about that in a conclusion, if that's true. And that's why I wanted to test these lenses. And I hope you still enjoy this. This is a bit different type of lenses that I'm testing now. And if you're interested in these lenses, there is links to the Mitakon web store which are affiliate links. So if you want to get them, I will get a small commission, but you don't pay any extra. So it's a win-win situation. And if you want to find out more about the affiliate links, there is some information in the description below what that actually means. But feel free to check out those lenses. Good value for money. And as these are cinema lenses, these are not the perfect lenses for photography. There are two reasons. The first one is, of course, the clickless aperture ring. And the second thing is that the focusing ring is really long. It takes a lot of turning to go from the closest focusing distance to infinity. But that's really important in cinema lenses because then you can have more precise focusing. And focusing from point A to point B is a lot smoother when it's not going to be really fast like it is with the photographic lenses, where that feature is a good thing, but not in cinema lenses. And that's why these might not be the perfect lenses for photography. Well, what about the image quality? Here are two examples that I took. These are still images taken from a tripod. I made this small scene where there's a camera and a toy car with some colors. And I took this in natural light, which of course is always a bit risky because there might be a change of light because of the clouds and the sun. Here you can see both of these images taken with 25mm, or they are 25mm lenses. I had the Mitakon T1.0 lens and the Olympus M.Zuiko Pro f1.2 lens and took images with full open. And here you can see the difference. The M.Zuiko lens is a bit sharper. The unsharpness, which is, you know, unsharpness, it's not really unsharp, but it's not as sharp as the M.Zuiko lens. The Mitakon lens is a bit softer, but it doesn't really matter because it's a cinema lens. And in cinema, you want to have that slight unsharpness of the lens, which makes the image look more cinematic. And that's a good thing. And I really like the way the image renders. Here is another example of the same scene. The other one is T2.8 and the other one is f2.8. As you can see, there isn't much of a difference here either. Both lenses produce really good images. And I'm really impressed about the image quality that Mitakon lenses has. This is really, really great. And my conclusion. As you probably can figure out from the content of this video, that I really like these lenses and the image quality was really good. I really enjoyed. Of course, I haven't tested these against other cinema lenses, but testing it against M.Zuiko 25mm f1.2 Pro lens, which I know is a great image quality lens, then I can really say that the Mitakon lenses have a really, really high quality image when it comes to image quality. And of course, as you also saw, the build quality and look and feel are top notch. No problem with that. And if you look at the prices of these lenses, the 25mm is $449 and the 35mm is about the same price. So the value for money is totally great. And I think the best testimonial I can give about these lenses is that I'm really, really considering getting 3 of these lenses. The 17mm, 25 and the 50mm lens. Because the price is very, very nice. And the quality, so the value for money is really good. Of course, it depends on if I can get them from here in Europe, so that I don't have to pay any customs and taxes. If those adds up to that, then it's no use to getting them. But if I can find them here in Europe somewhere, then I will most likely get these for my video work. And here is the video about the Mitakon F095 lens. You might want to watch that next. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.